I'm so excited. We had a very busy night. Some of us haven't slept. Others of us are across the world, and we are enjoying a beautiful day. We are here to talk about all things Taylor Swift's 11th era. I'm Bryan West, the Taylor Swift reporter for USA Today, and I'm so excited to be joined by one of my friends. She is very famous in the Swiftie community, Miss Tess Bohne. Tess, you're joining us from Spain. It's beautiful. What time is it there?
Right now it just hit 4:00 p.m. And it is the perfect weather and perfect, just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
So let's start first. So much to get to. You were there though at the Grammys. Did you know
Yes.
that when Taylor dressed in white, Lana dressed in black, she did the two-piece sign? Did you have any indication this was coming?
Oh, absolutely not. When I was at the Grammys, I was one who was like, oh, maybe rep drop. I was still there for it. And so those kind of clues, it was like, okay, I thought way back when she kind of did a little bit of the Shania stuff that like it could allude to something of like a double multiple album, but I did not piece those two together at all. So no.
I would say your specialty is following the tour. You have seen so many shows. You know all the dances. You've seen it in person, on live streams, in the movie theater. Everyone's going to be
At
asking
home.
at home. Everyone's going to be
All
asking,
of
is
it.
she incorporating this into her tour? So, what are your initial thoughts after listening?
Oh, my initial thought is she has to, or else she's gonna have a lot of like sad, angry Swifties of like, no, you cannot leave out our new baby. Our new baby cannot be left alone without the tour. So I think absolutely. I think there are just so many amazing songs that she can put in there. And just like I was left wondering like, what is she gonna do like set wise about about Midnights. I really was wondering what the visuals would look like. Now I am like, now knowing what Fortnight might be tonight, I am just I'm excited to see how she would do it or how she's gonna do it because I'm hopeful.
You definitely have iconography of like the insane asylum. That's kind of what it looks like tonight. We're seeing like the typewriters. What's interesting is she has 4 albums that are original pieces. They're not re-records, and those are the 4 biggest eras: Lover, Folklore, Evermore, Midnights. So that begs the question, do we think there's 5 to 7 possible songs she might do, or is she just maybe gonna do 2 or 3? What do you think?
I did not possibly think that many, but you could be right because you and I both talked about how, she kind of already showed us that like if she's gonna cut songs, these are the exact songs she's gonna do.
In the
When
rentals, right? Like the
yes.
Archer and Cardigan and
Yeah, Archer, what was it? Archer, Cardigan,
Wildest
um,
Dreams.
yes, Wildest Dreams, and Tis the Damn Season, I think. Do you think that one would
And
be cut too or no?
my thought, I believe that one was, but my thought is if she does incorporate this new era, it's where. So right off the bat, I'm thinking Miss Americana is such a good welcome song. It gets everybody excited. At the end, Karma really is a good ending song, but the end of
Oh
this
yeah.
era to me would be I Could Do It With a Broken Heart. So I could see it going at the end of the concert tour with that. It's with everybody rocking out in the stands, and then she goes at the end like, "Come for my job," and then she kind of sinks that.
I know maybe you're giving Taylor ideas if she doesn't already have it.
Oh, we know that she's 13 steps ahead. The other 2 places I was thinking she might add it is right after Reputation before Speak Now. There would be a place to like segment that in, or
Oh, and it's a
maybe
perfect segue too. It feels like it fits right there really well. So
that it
sorry, or
just
the other
goes
piece.
in. And then another thought would be maybe she dives kind of into the stage. It could be something before Midnights. That could be a possibility too.
Okay.
But I'm
Yeah.
seeing her come out almost with Fortnight with the lead single, maybe doing Tortured Poets, the title track, maybe
Yeah.
doing the song that a lot of fans are speculating is about Travis Kelsey, which is So High School. I could see her doing, but just I Can Do It With a Broken Heart. Don't you just see that like pumping up the crowd?
Oh, yes. But that one's just like it's the fun sad. It's also like a little bit of a Swifties see what I've done for you. And, hopefully we can jump to it and be excited and, sad at the same time. But that'd be a perfect one.
What I love about that song is it's just everybody's looking at Taylor as she performs. This is her magnum opus. This is her record shattering tour. And they're thinking she's having the time of their life, but not realizing that she's processing not just one, but two breakups at the beginning of this tour. Did you have any indication? You've seen every show. Have you seen her kind of evolve and maybe some songs? Did you have any indication that, she was miserable inside?
Well, it's funny. My friend and I went to night 2 in Glendale, and after Champagne Problems, she kind of wiped a tear, but then she's saying, "Wait, Marjorie comes before that." Yeah, and we're like, "Oh, maybe it could be because of something else." Like we kind of were like, "Is it because of relationship issues?" But we're like, "No." And then as you see videos come out later, I think there's a video of her maybe wiping a tear or not singing Lover with the same kind of enthusiasm. But as we're watching live streams, we don't see that. We see a grainy little screen from far away back. And so I don't know, there are things that you could allude to. This could be something, this could be nothing. But I think she showed us all that she did it with a broken heart. And unless you analyze and speculated, and I mean, we do that with everything. So we're right and wrong with all of it. So she did it, and she is the man.
The chairman of the
chairman.
Yes. Department. Now, I know before I let you go, you always dress up. What are some of the, themes or inspirations that you have for some of the outfits now that Tortured is out?
Let me just tell you everything I've seen from like the 9-second or however many second Fortnight clip that we have so far. That. And I don't know if we're going to get any other music videos. Obviously, I hope so. It'll be that. I mean, it'll keep going, and
maybe even the Grammys dress with like the black gloves.
Oh, yes.
Definitely.
I mean, made with the bed sheet from the insane asylum. Yes.
If anyone can make that, it's you. I've seen your crafting skills. Tess, thank you so much. You're on vacation in Spain, taking time out of your day to be here with us on this big instrumental day. So I really appreciate it. And watch Tess. If you don't follow her, she's at Tess Bohne. She does all the live streams for the show. So she's going to be live May 9th when we go to what city?
Paris, France.
Paris, France, to see if Taylor changes it. Thank you so much, Tess, for joining us. It's so good
Bryan.
to see you.
Okay,
we are now going to cut over to somebody who might know more about Taylor Swift than me. She is, when it comes to numbers, data, she's a Swiftie expert. She's a Data Swiftie. This is Kayla Wong at Head First Fearless. Kayla, I think similar to me, you have gotten little to no sleep after the double album. How are you doing?
Yeah. I'm hanging in there. I'm running on like youth and adrenaline right now.
And coffee and lyrics and just listening over and over. So I'd like to test a little bit about the two. Now, I know that you've been watching like a lot of the Easter eggs that have come about. Tell me with your fine eagle eye, some of the Easter eggs that you've seen incorporated with two.
Yeah, I think the first time she really clearly linked it with the album was when she did the little peace sign at the Grammys. And then we saw like Post do it once, and the twos have been coming up with hand signals. But then we have clocks on the walls that are set to 2.
With the animation from Taylor Nation.
Yeah, and like, well, why would that be 2? And then Taylor Nation, her marketing team, also would post like some behind the scenes videos of Taylor from the Me music video, and she tells her cat, "Oh, you're getting 2 sisters." And so people have been thinking double album. People had thought maybe Reputation Taylor's version, just there's maybe a second something coming. And they've really played into that. And then outside of that, I think too, like she did a similar type of thing with Midnights when she did 3am edition. So we know it's something that's done well before, and we really love, and we like to stay up and do this all night. And so we're really excited.
Just a constant affair. What I thought was interesting is I was watching back to one of her videos that she did, which was with Jimmy Fallon in 2021. She's wearing a white dress, and she says, as she's explaining Easter eggs, I think I'm going to do a 3-year Easter egg. Mm-hmm. And then later that night, she was on Seth Meyers in a black dress. Have these Easter eggs just gotten out of control? It must be exhausting to keep up with them.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are a lot that we still probably have never caught and may never catch. I don't know. I think there are some that also just maybe weren't even deliberate, that fell into place and that just kind of worked out. And now when we look back, we connect the dots, and it kind of all aligned and felt meant to be.
So let's break this down. There are 2 sections. We'll start with part 1. You're really good at themes, at lyrics. You code every single lyric she's ever done. Like Kayla can tell you that Reputation has the most food and beverage mentions, or what album has the most blue-colored mentions. So let's start with just some of the words that you've noticed, or maybe even some of the themes. What are some of the commonalities of this album?
Across the album, thematically, there's a lot of death. Death in terms of murder, death in terms of saying, you know, she died at the altar in Still in London, and then also imagery like the cemetery and like graveyards. And that's not necessarily a net new thing, but I think it's a lot heavier in this album than it has been in others, which makes sense based on promo and the language that she uses across the board to describe tortured poets. I also thought marriage came up a lot, and marriage did come
Even
up
the
a lot.
false hope of marriage.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
the line that really did it, I think, for a lot of Swifties was, "At dinner, you take my ring off my middle finger and put it on the one people put wedding rings on." And that's the closest I've come to my heart exploding.
exploding. Yeah, that was stressful to hear the first time around. Yeah. Also the amount of marriage and like wedding references and talking about rings and cradles in Lawmul, Lost of My Life. Are we calling that Lawmul or LOML? What do we think we're gonna call it?
I think LOML or LOML, but
Lawmul.
and there's like the double meaning of either love of my life, but then turning into loss of my
Loss
life.
of her life. Yeah, yeah. So a lot of that. We talked about this earlier today, like drugs being a large part of it. Getting really specific with the drugs, like the weed and like the dopamine. I think that's also different, and it just kind of goes back to the darkness, I guess, of the album. And us thinking too, especially with the Fortnight little teaser and stuff, that it really does also play on like insanity. And that
Kind
whole
of the crazed asylum. Also,
Mhm.
drugs being used as a form of escapism. We saw in her track Florida with
Mhm.
Florence and the Machine that it's almost like escaping, not just physically, but escaping mentally from what you're having to face.
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought right off the bat, at least on the drugs front, is it was almost the second line, right, in Fortnite when she said, "I was a functioning alcoholic till nobody noticed my new aesthetic." It's that
Yeah,
character playing into.
yeah, yeah.
So this album has been created over the course of 2 years, where Swift has had 3 relationships. She ended her 6-year relationship with English actor Joe Alwyn, then she dated 1975 Maddie Healy, and then Travis Kelce. What have you seen as far as themes playing into those relationships on this album?
I know we're not supposed to speculate too hard about those exact, relationships and trying to map them back to different people. I do see in my head all 3 of them referenced to some extent. I think that's what most people see. That's what I'm seeing online in the fandom discussions for sure. And I also keep remembering too that I watched an interview. I think it was a decade ago. I think it was during the original 1989 era, and she might have actually said this since then too. But she had mentioned that sometimes she just does take creative liberties and will combine situations or just throw a line in that she thinks really fits, even if it wasn't the literal exact thing that happened in her relationship. And I think that serves the purpose of like helping us to understand that it maybe isn't just the one situation. Maybe if, like one word or one line doesn't seem to fit, that doesn't mean it's not about that. And there's also the ability for us to just interpret in our own way and use our own experiences and our own personal backgrounds to feel connected to the music. Because, and as she says on tour, like that's kind of the whole point. That's why she shares it with us. It's not to tell her story only. It's to like give us a window in to feel connected and to have a way to grow with her and bring her into our own journeys.
That is really well put. You can definitely see some of the more obvious tones, like So Long London, obviously, which was supposed to be her home, her community, her city. We find that even shifting. You see things like maybe the Black Dog is a bar that is a pub in London. And so
Yeah.
there are definitely references. I think what I saw online is a lot of the fandom was surprised that Maddie Healy did play a more involved role almost in inspiring this album.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I definitely thought that, like to some extent during my first listen through. But I guess it makes sense because I know that like just given the timeline of her writing it, I suppose Midnight's ended kind of like just several months before at least the public found out about the Joe Alwyn breakup, and so a good bulk of that was during that time of her life. And she was also just starting to go on tour and a lot of things were changing in her career. And so those are the kinds of things that we know inspire her to write and to, seek that creative outlet. And so it does make a lot of sense. I think maybe the reason I was surprised by it too was because it wasn't really alluded to in the promo, and the promo felt very heavy on the, the really sad album. So that's kind of what we thought we were gonna get.
But like spoken just like in anything that's Taylor Swift, you have the whiplash of emotions, right? You go from like the hardcore heartbreak to even more of the upbeat songs. And now there's even a shocking twist that we were trying to try and relate it to. I Can Do It With a Broken Heart is a very kind of sad, depressing
That's
song.
devastating.
Like dressed as this upbeat pop anthem.
Yeah.
Your favorite line comes from that song. Tell me about it.
The one that I said I think I relate to the most. Oh, the one that says, I cry a lot, but I'm so productive. Yeah, I feel that one a lot.
Especially
that
because
would be
it's like
the
you
one that
have a breakup like on a Sunday, right? And then you still have to show up. You still have responsibilities on Monday, and you just go for it.
Yeah. And it's a way of showing yourself that you like recover from things and you can compartmentalize, and it's like a mood booster in that way. That's why it also reminds me of Bejeweled, which is a mood booster, when you're like hyping yourself up. So I love that line from that song and think that's very applicable probably to a lot of people. And then my favorite lines, like of all of them, I think come from Lawmul, which are the sad, like heartbreaking ones. But I just love like the amount of detail that she uses in that song and the imagery she paints in the song. And I think it's just really strong lyrically. So I think that was the one where just listening to it, even through the first time without reading the lyrics in front of me, I was like, oh, that's a gem.
We were saying at this point, she has over 250 songs in her vast discography. Themes are similar, even though the songs get either more complex or advanced or have different analogies and metaphors. But it's almost like you could develop now a Taylor Swift decimal system instead of the Dewey Decimal System, this idea of filing her songs away. We were talking about, especially the first part of the album, you can draw a lot of parallels between previous songs and also some of the current songs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's definitely true as far as, again, the imagery and like the themes. I think certain things about the Reputation album definitely link in with this one, like the cages and the prison imagery and stuff like that. And there were also some very specific associations that I made, which I'm not sure if most people would, but I got like Cowboy Like Me out of like I Can Fix Him, just like the kind of rundown bar off the edge of the road vibe is what I get out of that one. And similar links like that.
I was thinking too, like Folklore and Evermore definitely have a lot of parallels. Like Guilty as Sin reminds me of almost Ivy, but it's a step before, where Ivy feels like that has been a relationship that's developed over time, whereas Guilty as Sin feels like we haven't yet crossed that line. Yeah. We have in my mind, but not yet physically.
Yeah, I thought Guilty as Sin reminded me of Gorgeous a lot, not in like the sound of it, but just kind of the stage, I guess, she was in. It's just a more like risque version of Gorgeous in that way.
So that was a lot about part one. It seemed as she moved more into part two, which this would probably be the album that I need to go back and listen to more of, just because it was fresh. But I would say there is much more of childhood retrospection, almost like a lot of youth themes that we see with Robin or that we see with Peter. What are your kind of thoughts about it seems like she's at a stage where she's able to look back and realize how she got to where she is.
Yeah. I think it's healthy for her to like reflect on those things, especially at her stage of life and after everything she's accomplished. She is still relatively young in the overall grand scheme of things. She's only 34, so it feels like she's done so much and she is already a legend, but she's just somewhat of a younger adult. And so I think that those experiences still are kind of recent. They are still learning things through that process, and it is something she's like focused on quite a bit too. I thought of You're on Your Own, Kid too as one of those songs where she obviously is like looking at her past and how she came to be here and trying to take away different learnings from that.
We got a comment from Jade Gonzalez on Facebook that said, I definitely felt sadness when listening to it. And that's the case, like Lawmul, as you put it, or Love, Loss of My Life is one of those songs that you just sit with. And she has so many of those piano. As soon as you start to hear the pitter patter, it's just like, get the Kleenex ready. What were some of the other songs that you really just feel are raw, emotional, sadness type of songs?
Well, So Long London. I think that was really beautifully done. It reminded me a lot sonically of The Archer, which helped make it extra sad. I guess.
Track 5.
Yeah. And this one's not a sad one, but I thought it was really robust and really descriptive and cool. Was But Daddy, I Love Him. But that's, I guess, a happy song. But yeah, that one was a really deep, like you really get into it. The emotional roller coaster.
With that song too, it's interesting how it kind of parallels this idea of like institutions, right? Like religion or being in a certain way in society being viewed with the Sarahs and Hannahs, which I'm still wondering who Sarah and Hannah is, but also having this like taste for danger and for rebellion.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that you brought up the religion point. There are so many like heaven versus hell references and just like religious communities. And again, that's not, none of those things, I guess, are net new. Like she has pulled on those before and explored them to some extent before. So we know that they have been interesting and focal points for her historically, but just a lot of it on this album, I guess too, there are now 31 songs. So there's just more material to work with. But I thought the religion, heaven, hell thing was really cool too.
So interesting. I was thinking too while I was listening to this, because I talked yesterday or overnight to the Harvard professor Stephanie Burr about especially track 2, because it mentions Patti Smith, who is a poet, and it also mentions Dylan Thomas, and their connection is the Chelsea Hotel, which is a place where literaries would live and the socialites would live of New York. And just what a time to, I guess, be a student right now in a Taylor Swift themed class. Like so much of this album you could dissect or sit with and just take one line or a stanza and write an entire thesis paper about.
Yeah, absolutely. I graduated from college, like 6 or 7 years ago. So I missed that opportunity, but I totally would have taken one of those if I could have.
And I'm just thinking like now it's almost like, oh, I want to go write a thesis paper about this. So I know you do a lot of data points. What are some of the things that you are taking from this that you're going to be working on the next week?
So from like an objective standpoint of track lengths, for example, and like the co-writers and, the production credits and being able to compare and contrast the Tortured Poet standard version and then also the anthology segment of it. I'll look into that and probably post about that. And then thematically, definitely want to explore the death stuff. So far, I haven't finished going through the anthology stuff, but I believe for standard Tortured Poets, 75% of those songs do have death imagery, which feels very high. And then the drugs that we mentioned, the marriage stuff, the insanity, religion, heaven and hell. I like to look at the specific locations and specific people that she mentions as well, and like the histories of those places and those humans. And I like to look at that usually in conjunction with the other albums too, to see how that's progressed over time. And if she, mentions more historical figures versus musicians versus fictional characters, and things like that. And then the other thing that I started to notice too was like the criminal element and talking about crime and how she talks about like it's a case. And so I also want to dig into what some of that imagery looks like across the album too.
Well, you always have the stats and you know everything there is to know lyrically. So follow at Head First Fearless on Instagram. Kayla has so many beautiful charts and graphs that she does and she posts daily. Kayla, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Bryan.
Okay, next we are going to one of the biggest influencers when it comes to social media reaction, when it comes to guessing. She is on top of it. She's a mastermind. We're joined by Olivia Levin. She runs the account at Swifties for Eternity. Olivia, you knew the Grammys. You predicted that it was going to be a completely different project. You also last night predicted that it was going to be a second album.
Yes.
How do you do it?
Well, hi, Bryan. Thanks for having me. I guess call it Swiftie intuition. I don't know. I don't know what came over me when the Grammys were about to happen. I felt like something was coming. I know everyone thought Reputation, Taylor's version, was coming, but I just felt like it was not time yet. And I don't know. I think maybe it's because I've been in the fandom for so long and Swiftie intuition. So that's how I called that one. I honestly was kind of surprised that I was right about that one. And then yesterday, just all the twos, the way she held up the two when she was announcing the album, all the twos on the clocks, the peace sign, like all of the twos. It just, I knew something was going to happen at 2 a.m. And again, people were so eager for Reputation, Taylor's version, but I know she likes to let her albums have their moment. So I just was thinking about what she did with Midnight, the 3 a.m. edition. Like, it's almost like we all forgot about that. At midnight, she was like, oh, surprise, at 3 a.m., there's a surprise, and it's going to be more music. So I don't know. And then I also started looking into rigor mortis, which is what happens like
I
post.
can't believe you put that together. So when I saw you post a video about rigor mortis, explain that, because that's very smart.
Thank you. So the secret message this week that was revealed was, we hereby conduct this postmortem. And postmortem is like what happens after death. So I looked into what happens after death, and the fourth stage of death is rigor mortis. And that happens about 2 hours after you die. So she's a genius. She really is a mastermind. And I'm so happy I was right. The fact that we got 15 new songs, I still don't know those as well as I know the first album, I guess you could say. And I'm still getting to know them, but I am so happy we got a couple of Travis Kelce tracks in there.
Yeah, tell me about that. You're usually really good at not just Easter eggs, but pointing out lyrics that might be references. So tell me, what are your thoughts?
So my thoughts are that on the first album of Tortured Poets, The Alchemy is definitely about Travis Kelce. It's too Travis coded. There are so many references to touchdown and like things that would only happen in football. And then in the new album, So High School, is all about their love story. I decoded those lyrics last night really quickly. She talks about him opening up the car door for her. And I don't know if you remember, I'm sure you remember the first date they had in New York City publicly. He went viral for like moving the security guard out of the way and opening up the door for her. So she mentions that. She mentions going to his football practice and hanging out with his friends and stuff. So it's just so sweet to see like how happy she is. Now we don't have to wait for the next album to kind of know what her feelings are for Travis and the music.
Another big moment that tells you just how self-aware she is as far as what people are saying or what the fandom is saying is that she mentioned marry, kill, kiss. Tell me about that.
Yes. So there was a video that resurfaced when Travis and Taylor started dating, and it was an interview that Travis did, and the lady asked him, would you marry, kill, or kiss these three people? And one of them was Taylor, and he said he would kiss her. And so in the song, she references that, and she says, you would do all three. So it's just so cute how we know everything she's referencing in that song we know about, and she knows we know about them. So it's just so cute to see it put into a song, and it just sounds so giddy and high schooly, and I love it.
It almost is like the Miss Americana and the Heartbreak Prince, kind of a parallel to that, but this time for Travis. Now, everybody is going to be talking maybe about that song, but another one is Thank You, Amy. I mean, who is it?
So if no one has figured it out already, which I'm pretty sure the entire world has, it's about Kim Kardashian. That is why KIM is, and that's genius of her to just capitalize those letters. Like it's just so genius. So she doesn't have to directly name drop her. She just creates a new name. But I just love that song so much because it really is, like I always say, Taylor teaches us the biggest life lessons in the best way, in the most classy way. And in that song, at first she says, like, you know, she hated her, and of course you don't like someone who makes you go through mental turmoil and who bullies you like all over the internet and makes people hate you. So it's just at the beginning of the song she says how much pain she caused her, and even her mom hated her. And then by the end of the song, it's just like she's grown and matured, and she's like, you know what? I don't hate you. Thank you. Thank you for helping me grow into the person I am today. Thank you for the success I've had, because it would have never happened had I not gone through all of what you put me through. And that is just the best message to her fans and to the world, because you really can't grow as a person unless you go through things, and the bad things do really make you stronger. And there's nothing she does better than revenge in this classiest ways. We know this.
I think two of the darkest chapters propelled her to the success she's at. And it's not, even though she does say thank you, it's not to credit what happened or how she got there. It's more to credit, I guess, resiliency, bouncing back. The line that I thought was really good, and thank you, Amy, is, and so I changed your name and any real defining clues, which is kind of like a joke because we know with the lowercase and uppercase. And one day your kid comes home singing a song that only us two is going to know about is you.
Yes, that is just, we know Kim Kardashian's kids are big Taylor Swift fans. So that was just like, wow. I just think that song, you're right. It's about resiliency, and maybe not crediting Kim Kardashian directly, but just like thanking the universe, for putting her through what she went through, because you're right. The hardest things she's gone through have proven to be the best things for her in the end, because look at where she is now.
There was also a line that I was just like, some of these lines just hit you. And I know there are more that are hidden that you have to listen and really sit with the lyrics. But during that song, she says, everyone knows that my mother is a saintly woman, but she used to say she wished that you were dead.
Yeah, that's powerful, because we know Andrea is like an angel on earth. So the fact that she wanted someone dead who hurt her daughter so badly is very, very telling.
Now, I know you and I have talked about, does she incorporate this? What do you think? I mean, it's 31 songs. They've been on break for 2 months. Do you think they're planning for something?
So I am going to say yes. I think that she will somehow find a way to put a few Tortured Poets songs in the Eras tour shows. Maybe that means she takes away a few of the other ones in the other longer sets. And the only reason I say this is because my standard for her is so high at this point. She always does what you would not expect her to do. And I've already seen people say there's no way she's going to add any of these songs into the Eras tour show. It's too complicated and it's just too much work. But those are the same people that said she would never, ever release a new album while on a world tour, a 2-year world tour. So I say I expect the unexpected at this point, and I would not be surprised at all if she comes out with some new songs on her tour.
I was also thinking of where does she place it, but I feel like I Can Do It With a Broken Heart just feels like this big anthem and this big opportunity for the fans to be singing to, and almost at the end just being like, don't come for my job.
Yes, yes. I could totally see her adding it in at the end, because it leaves off where she is in her life right now. So if she plays So High School, I would be very happy. And then I agree. I think ending it with I Can Do It With a Broken Heart would be like even better than Karma, maybe.
What's interesting about that too is there was an Easter egg in the Time magazine article. She had said no matter what, she's going on stage, right? Unless it harms, or there's safety concerns. She said, I would do it, if I'm sick or I'm sore or I am heartbroken.
Yes. And I think that's very telling about her work ethic, because she never, ever cancels shows unless she absolutely has to and it's unsafe for her fans. But other than that, if she's sick, she goes on stage. She's heartbroken, which is like the worst kind of sick, she goes on stage. So yeah, I mean, she's a force.
Talk about one of your claims to fame is you're really good at coming up with short snippets that are relatable that you put online. I know yesterday you said, tell me about your one about waking up.
Oh, waking up. Yes. So I posted a reel about I love Taylor Swift album release days, because when you wake up, it's a great day, because everyone who's ever done you wrong is thinking about you today. And that is the true karma
Of it. And you see that also echoed with her. Is there any other song that really stands out to you that you're going to be talking about this week? I mean, all of them, obviously, but Is there one that comes to mind right away?
Yes, I am obsessed with Who's Afraid of Little Old Me.
Just the fact of being so self-aware, knowing public scrutiny and criticism and just owning it.
Yeah, yeah. And the production in that song too, and when she screams like Who's Afraid of Little Old Me, it just like does something different. I don't know, chills all around. It's such a powerful song. This is such a poetically powerful album, and I'm in awe always.
I was thinking during that too, just to showcase the range. She does go really high singing Who's Afraid of Little Old Me, and then the first chorus goes very deep saying you should be.
Yeah, yeah, and I like that because she's kind of putting her foot down and being like, "You know what? You're afraid of me? Like, yeah, you should be." So, I don't know, I love that contrast, the high and the lows, and her vocal range is insane, and, the production, it kind of sounds like a mysterious song.
Yeah, a haunting melody for
Yeah.
sure. What's been interesting about the Tortured Poets department is even just the terminology department. It's almost as if we saw, especially during Reputation, kind of the squad era, and that almost seemed like something superficial or that was heavily criticized. It's like there has now grown and graduated to something that's more educational or an institution. What do you think about the department?
I think it's brilliant. I think I really don't know where she comes up with her album titles, and the fact that she's like the chairman of the department. And I'm not sure if you saw, but the record store day letter was just so poetically brilliant. I think that I can't believe she just put out two albums with that, and I love our chairman.
As we wrap up, let's talk about just kind of the next steps. So, what do we have going on tonight? Maybe around 8 p.m.?
We have the Fortnight music video. I am so excited. She put out a 6-second like teaser trailer for it, and it already looks like her best music video yet. I think we're gonna learn a lot. I think there's gonna be hidden Easter eggs all over that music video. I am so excited, and I love that Post Malone is in it.
And then after that is Record Store Day, which we saw in the animation that she tweeted out on Tuesday. She marked on her calendar. This year, Paramore is an ambassador for that. Have you heard or seen anything on social media related to Record Store Day besides you mentioned there's like maybe a note?
I have not, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of special edition vinyl put out. I don't know if she would necessarily show up at one, but also wouldn't put it past her. But yeah, I mean, last year there was the Folklore Long Pond Studio version of the vinyl, and that one went crazy, sold out right away. And I hope that we can all get our hands on whatever's coming on Saturday.
Well, one thing that we can definitely say is she always keeps the fandom guessing, people guessing what the next move is, if the Eras Tour is going to incorporate this, if she's doing anything for Record Store Day. Is there anything? What's your next project? What are you working on?
Today I'll probably be dissecting more of the album, especially the part 2 of the album, posting more reels about the lyrics so that people don't have to go figure it out themselves. And yeah, just getting to know these 2 new albums, these 31 songs I cannot believe we have. I'm so excited to really delve into the lyrics more and more for the music video, figure out all the I guarantee you there will be an Easter egg in that video pointing to something that she has planned 2 years from now. Probably her next album. She probably has that one done too. So I'm in awe of her work ethic and her talent. And I feel bad for anyone who's not enjoying this Taylor Swift fandom ride.
That's well put. I feel like too, if there's a ceiling that's hit, it becomes the new floor, and then another ceiling. And it's
Yeah.
almost like, well, how can you outdo yourself?
Right, but she always finds a way, and I think that's why she's Taylor Swift now, 17 years later. She's at the top of her game, and I can't even say that this is her peaking because everyone thought, even she thought, that she was peaking during the 1989 era, and she just keeps going up and up and up. So, and I think she's finally with someone that wants her to keep going up and up and up. So, I think it's really only up from here. I don't know how she can keep outdoing herself, but I know she will. So she'll find ways that we haven't even thought of.
And you will be there to capture it all. Olivia Levin, thank you so much. Her account is at Swifties for Eternity. She has all the reels that she does. Thank you. Thank you so much for being
Bryan.
with us.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Okay, so we had Tess Bohne on earlier. We had Kayla Wong, the Data Swiftie, on right before Olivia. We do have this being live right now, but it's going to be taped and then pushed to YouTube later. So if you didn't catch Tess or Kayla before Olivia, you can check it out there. We also have a newsletter that just went out. It's called This Swift Beat. You can sign up for that on USA Today. Just search for This Swift Beat. That includes a lot of the behind the scenes, Easter eggs, hidden action. And this one, I stayed up all night writing. It has a lot of Tortured Poets references and things, and hidden messages. Thank you all for joining us for this. Again, our first post meeting of the Tortured Poets Department. We are so excited, though, to see how this unfolds, especially come May when Taylor returns in Paris, France on May 9th. I'm going to be out there. So if there are any European Swifties that are out there, I'd love to see you. I have friendship bracelets to trade. I will be in Paris. Thank you so much for